All right, let's take a few minutes and talk about squats. Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, we're gonna focus on squats, but we do a lot of squats also in kickboxing. So we're gonna cover these today. I don't expect you to be perfect at them, but I just want you to try understand them and work on them as we go forward. We have two main movers, main joints in the body. We got our knees, we've got our hips. The squat is a hip movement. We wanna use the glutes. The problem is most people don't activate the glutes to do it. They squat with their knees. Let the knees come forward, they let the knees cave in. You do that a lot, you're gonna put a lot of stress on your knees. We wanna use the hips for carrying most of the weight. So the big thing is thinking about the squat while you do it, thinking about the glutes. Tension up the glutes before we do it, so while you sit back. Another thing is everyone gets worried about letting the chest come out over the toes and letting the chest come forward. The first thing people want to do is lift the head up and bring the chest up. What that does is pull our hips forward, pull my knees forward, and I have a harder time sitting in my hips. So just like the plank, just like the athletic position, shoulders back, my core is tight, hips to shoulders during a squat, during every exercise we do, we don't want breaking. We don't want to put any unnecessary bend in the back. I want to keep it nice and tight, so as I squat, that upper body is one unit. My head just sits on my shoulders and follows wherever my upper body goes. So as I sit back, it may feel like I'm out over my toes, but if you look from the side, my butt's back, counterbalancing. My shoulders, head are up front, which is fine. My core's nice and tight, it's one straight unit. If you have a chair at home, you can practice this. If you have a large box at home, you can practice sitting down onto it. You want to picture sitting back onto the box, sitting into my hips. My feet, I'm gonna get about shoulder width, my toes slightly pointed out, 20, 30 degrees. The first joint that moves is the one that's gonna take the most stress. So if you squat with the knees coming forward, you're gonna put the most stress on your knees. That means we're just straightening the leg. We don't wanna just straighten the leg, we wanna straighten the hip and use the glutes. So I'm gonna set up that athletic stance, my shoulders back. To practice, I'll usually put a hand on my core, one up on my chest to help remind me to keep my shoulders back. I'm gonna squeeze my core, a little tension in my glutes. I'm gonna think about sitting back. So I'm sitting back towards that chair behind me, about 8, 10 inches. I'm gonna let that upper body come forward. I'm gonna slowly lower down, trying to get my hips in line with my knees, parallel with my knees. At the bottom, I wanna picture a couple hooks in my hips, driving my hips straight up, squeezing my glutes, standing back up. Trying to use my glutes the whole time. My quads never shut off. They work all the time. My butt will take a break unless you make it work. So you gotta be conscious of the core of the glutes on every single exercise. So right through it, set up, shoulders back, tension in my core. I'm sitting back, control it down. Think of the glutes lowering me down, all the way down parallel. Don't worry if you can't get all the way down at first. Drive the hips back up. That's a squat, that's the start. We'll talk about modifications and how to grow from that in the next week, but from the beginning, that's the basis of a squat.